Hello everybody, my name is Kyle9. Welcome back to another video. Today, and this one's going to be another deck profile video, and in this one, it's going to be on my Labrynth deck post-Rage of the Abyss. Yes, Rage of the Abyss is now out, and it does make a lot of changes to this deck for two reasons. Number one, Dominus Impulse is just a crazy, insane normal trap card that this deck can take advantage of without changing pretty much anything to the deck, and it's a normal trap card, so there's multiple ways to get to it in this deck as well. Just an absolutely insane power card for this deck now. And number two is Mulchami Fuaras. Doesn't necessarily do anything against Labrynth. That was kind of a thing I wanted to do with the deck I play into this format, is a deck that doesn't necessarily care about that card. And Labrynth is one of those cards. Maybe it's an upstart at best because, you know, something like a big and a welcome can give them a draw. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the value they're going to get out of this card when they're playing against this deck. So those are two very good reasons to play this deck going into this format. Now, two things before we get into the deck profile. Number one, this is the IKEA, or what I like to call the combo version of Labrynth. I'm not playing the 37 trap cards with the Equation Cannon and only 3 monsters. Now that is getting popular with Labrynth. I do prefer to play this just because I like to play with Unchained Soul Lord Ayama, and you can't really do that with the Equation Cannon because Equation Cannon pretty much takes up the entire extra deck to play. So I decided to play the combo version. And then number two is I took this to a Denver regional about a week and a half ago. I did pretty good. I started off the first 5 rounds undefeated. Well, technically undefeated. I went 4 wins and 1 tie. And then the next 2 rounds after that, I lost just because I stopped drawing engine. I just drew all traps, which is not what you want to see when you're playing the combo version or the IKEA version of this deck. But I probably could have topped 32 if I decided to stay the last round, but I decided to drop and go get food instead. But if I decided to stay and, win the last round, I probably could have topped that event. But this isn't the exact list. I did make a couple changes before recording for this deck profile. Now, I will identify the changes in the deck before we continue and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into the deck profile, shall we? So obviously we'll start off with the main deck here. We'll start off with the Labrynth of Monsters. So we're playing 3 Ariana and 3 RES. Obviously, Ariana is the starter for this deck. You can search for any card in your deck, so very much need to play 3 of. Butler is obviously insane. Not only can it special summon Labrynth monsters, it can also set normal traps, and that can be activated that turn, so it's kind of a going second card as well. So I very much want to play 3 of this, especially since its in graveyard effect is if they respond to a Labrynth or a normal trap card, it can just special itself. It's really, really good. So obviously I want to play 3 of that as well. Now on to the Chandelier pieces. We're playing 3 Stovey and 2 Chandelier. Now, this is a little bit of a weirder ratio. Again, 3 Stovies makes sense just because, well, obviously both of these can get you your big welcome and welcome trap cards, but the only reason why I'm playing 2 Shandy is because this is what I kind of took from the last Labrynth deck I topped 8 with back in, I think it was May, I believe. I like this at 2. I do like this ratio a lot. The reason why I'm only playing it at 2 is because there's not really that many targets in the deck to search for. I'm not playing any of the spell cards or anything like that for this. So I decided to play this at 2. I still very much love this ratio a lot. So I wouldn't, if you do want to play 3, I do understand. But I think the 2 is perfectly fine. And obviously, again, this is just to get your bigs and your welcomes. And then, like, turn 2, turn 3s. After that, this is just, like, body pieces after that. Now for one-ofs that we're playing 1 Ariane. Ariane was not initially in the deck. This is one of the few changes I did make. I was not playing Ariane in Denver, and I very much regret it because this card is fucking insane. It's so good. The fact that it can special something like an Ariana from the deck, and it can also do the draw 1 card, and then you can set or special summon. You can do both effects in the same turn is absolutely insane. Ariana, you can't do that. You can only use one of those effects. With Ariane, you can do both effects, which is very, very much insane. Turn 2, turn 3s, this becomes even better because it helps you get into like the extra deck plays and stuff like that. So very much regret not playing this in Denver. I think this is, if you're playing the combo version of the deck, I do think you do need to play the 1 Ariane. We're playing the 1 Clue Clock. Obviously, just with 1 the Clue Clock, I don't think you need to be playing more. We're playing 1 Lady Labrynth. Again, I think Lady is perfectly fine to play at 1. I did consider maybe playing it at 2, but it technically contributes to bricks because this technically doesn't get you to your engine necessarily. It's still a very good card, but I think playing the 1 of is perfectly fine. And then obviously for the last Labrynth monster, we're playing the 1 Lovely because the brick, but you do have to play it because this card is insane, but you only want to play it at just the 1. So that is it for the monster lineup. Let me just quickly take all of these out. I like to keep them a little bit organized. Alrighty, now on to other monsters that aren't Labrynth monsters. We are playing 3 Absolute King Backjack. I think this card is still very much insane, especially since we're playing Ariane. Ariane can actually special Backjack, which is very insane. This card is very, very good. I would not change this at all. I very much love this. I know we're only playing like the 2 Chandeliers, so there's not that many ways to get rid of it, but I think this is perfectly fine. Even as just a normal summon going into a relinquished anima is not terrible. I think this card is very insane. I do believe you do play it. And obviously we're playing the 1 Unchained Soul of Shavara. We're playing the Unchained package in the extra deck, so we have to play the 1 of Shavara in the main deck. But honestly, I don't even think it's that bad of a inclusion into the deck, especially since we are, again, playing the IKEA version or combo version of the deck. So that's it for the monsters. Now let's get into the trap cards. Obviously, we are playing the 3 Big Welcome because this is the best trap card in the deck. This does everything for you. You do need to play 3 of it. Unfortunately, we're only playing 2 Welcome. Again, this is another thing I took from the last deck last time I topped with Lab is only playing 2 Welcome, and I prefer to play it at just 2. I don't think you necessarily need to play 3 of this card. I think this is perfectly fine to be at 2. Again, the third one doesn't necessarily come up. I think the second one is perfectly fine, and since we're playing like the Chandelier pieces, you can get to this very, very easy. So again, not too bad to play only just the 2. Now on to the actual power traps. Dominus Impulse. This card is fucking insane. This card is so good. We're also playing 3 Imperm. I'm going to put this here as well. So these are kind of your going second cards for the deck. So Impulse plus the Imperm. So this is your going second stuff that you don't have to draw like Butler or something like that for. Impulse is such a crazy card, especially in this deck because not only does you get the first effect where you can just prevent a special summon, the lock, you getting locked out of lights, winds, and earths, does not matter at all in the slightest for this deck because all you're playing is really dark, so the lock doesn't do anything necessarily do anything. There's a couple things, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. But number 2, that bottom effect where if you have a trap card in your graveyard, you can destroy the card as well, comes up all the time because we're playing 20 trap cards, so that will always come up. So, and since it's a normal trap card, if you destroy a monster by that effect, your Stovies, your Shandies, your Welcomes in graveyard also trigger off that effect since it's a normal trap card as well. Very, very insane card. This is the main reason why you want to play Lab this format is because of this card. And then obviously we're playing the 3 Infinite Impermanence because this is also another going second card. Drawing Impulse plus Imperm is fucking insane going second. Really, really good for that. Now onto the actual true power traps that we are playing. We are playing 3 Destructive Daruma Cannon. I still think this is probably the best power trap in the game right now that you do have to play. I wish there was something a little bit better, but I think this is probably the best one that you could play. The fact that it's not a once per turn either is very insane as well. Now on to some 2-ofs. We're playing 2 Ice Dragons Prisons. This is okay. This is not necessarily against something like a Snake Eyes. Or a Fire King or something like that. It's not necessarily good, but against something like Yugioh or Tempai, this card is fucking insane in those matchups. Even against something like the Labrynth Mirror match is very insane as well. So I wouldn't cut this card. This card was really good, but I did cite it out if I was versing a Fire King matchup, I would take it out just because there's not that many good things for Ice Dragons to get off of. But still a very good power trap that you do play. Another 2 that we're playing, and I did make a change of, was 2 Terrors of the Overroots as well. I think I was just playing the 1 for Denver, but I did increase it to 2 because, again, if Fire King is slowly moving back into the format, I think playing 2 Terror is probably correct because going Terror, target the island. The Sanctuary can't protect it because Terror sends it to the graveyard, does not attempt to destroy it. So this against any Fire King version just pretty much kills them on the spot. So I do like this card a lot, so it is at 2 as well. The last two of that, or I guess the second to last two of we're playing is 2 Trap Trick. Again, maybe a couple people are playing this at 3, but I think I prefer it to be at 2. I don't want to see multiple of this card. This does contribute 2 bricks, and there was one time at the Denver Regional, I think it was round 6, that I drew 2 of this, and it did nothing for me, and like I just got OTK'd. Like, I don't want to see multiple of Trap Trick, but it's still a very good card that you do want to play because it gets you access to any trap that you would like. The last 2 of we're playing is 2 Transaction Rollback. I'm thinking of playing this card at 3. I think this card is very, very insane, but it does contribute to brick. If you have no way to get it out of your hand, then it's just dead. But this card is fucking insane. I do love this card a lot. It helps you play through hand traps. It helps you play through like back row removal like Feather Duster. And if you have this in graveyard, the Feather Duster doesn't necessarily do anything. This card is very fucking insane. And every time I saw it and was able to get it to graveyard, I pretty much won that game. It was very, very insane. And then the last card we're playing is Dogmatica Punishment. Now, we're only playing one of this. This used to be like a 2 of, because this used to be a really good power trap. The reason why we're only playing one of this now is because half the targets for Dogmatica Punishment conflicts with Dominus Impulse. So there's really only like 2 good targets you can send off Punishment now that doesn't conflict with Dominus Impulse. There's other targets, yes, you can dump off of this, but they do conflict with the Impulse. So there's a lot of time when I knew I was going second, I would side out of this card just because I knew the Impulse would most likely turn off the targets for Punishment. But going first, this wasn't terrible to keep in just because obviously the castle can, the Silver Castle, the lady, can set this card. So this was like a fine one of. I don't think you necessarily need to take it out. If you still want to play 2 of it, I also can fully agree with that. But I think just as a good one of that you can set off like a lady is perfectly fine as well. And it just makes it easier to side out of as well. So that is it for the main deck. Now let's get into the extra deck, shall we? Let me just quickly organize this real quick. So we're going to start off with the link monsters that we actually make. So Relinquished Anima is the first one. This is specifically just because of Backjack, and that's it. This is just to get Backjack in the graveyard. Maybe you can get Clue Clock in the graveyard, but that never really comes up. This is really just for Backjack to get into the graveyard, and that's it. That's all we're really playing it for. We're playing the 1 Muckraker from the Underworld. You do need to play this card just because this does get you back into like a lady if you're, don't want to waste a big to get back to lady. So it gets lady out of the graveyard. So, just a very, very good card that I think you do need to play in this deck. We are playing Dark the Dark Charmer. Now, I did not summon this once, but there's the idea of it. If you verse the Azamina Snake Eye stuff, you can go like Dark, steal the Omni Negate from their graveyard, and now you have an Omni Negate on your field. But a lot of the time, I was locked into Fiends because of Welcome, but I think the idea behind Dark is good, but I just never made it once, and because I only really versed one Azamina Snake Eyes player, and that was it. Everything else was like what did I like Yubel and stuff like that I versed. I only versed the one Azamina Snake Eyes, and I couldn't make Dark in those games. So again, I think the idea behind Dark is cool, but I never necessarily did make Dark. We're playing the 1 SP Little Knight because it's SP Little Knight. It's the best card in the extra deck. You do need to play this. I think in whatever deck you're playing, I think you do need to play this in your extra deck because SP is just that insane. Now on to the Unchained package. We are playing 2 Unchained Soul Lord of Yama, 1 Soul Rage, 1 Anguish, and a 1 Abomination for us. So obviously, Yama is insane for this deck just because you're playing all Fiends, so this is very easy to make. Soul Rage is a going first tool, so if you can get into a Soul Rage, this is just another interruption. This into SP Little Knight is very insane. Anguish is just to like help you going second, break a field. And we're playing the Abomination. I wanted to play Access Code, but again, Welcome does lock us into Fiends from the extra deck, so Abomination is just a very good target instead. Pretty much does the same thing, but I would prefer to be Access Code. But again, the Welcome lock does prevent it. But I think this is very insane. I am playing 2 Yama. I think 2 Yama is very, very good just because the graveyard effect is insane. It just helps you in grind matches get back to stuff. So I do prefer this to play this at 2. I took out one of the Dogmatica punishments and put a second Yama in just because Yama you can actually dump off a punishment and it doesn't conflict at all because it is a dark. So I think this is a very good ratio. I did like this a lot in Denver. I think this was very, very good, and I would not cut this whatsoever. So that is it for the Link Monsters. Now let's get into other cards that we're playing in the extra deck. We are playing the 1 Chaos Angel. Obviously, this comes up all the time for this deck that you do want to play this. It's a very insane card for this deck. Do need to play this. And then the 1 Sky Crisis as well. Again, I don't think this is for every deck in the format, but I think if you are playing Lab, you do need to play this card specifically because it just does help you going second. Now, don't be an idiot like me where I forgot about this card like halfway through the tournament. I would always like, you know, go second, attempt to break a field. I would break the field. I would pass back to him. I would look it back in my extra deck. I'm like, damn, I had a Sky Crisis. I probably should have made a Sky Crisis, you know? So don't be an idiot like me and forget about this card. This card is very, very insane. Now on to the Dogmatica Punishment Package. We're only playing 4 targets. We are playing the Tri-Brigade Link 5. We're playing the Elder Entities Natis, the Baphomet, and the Garua as well. This is the only 4 targets I chose to play just because these 2 conflict with Dogmatica Punishment, so they're not necessarily good. But just in case you have Punishment and it doesn't conflict, you have an activated Impulse from the hand, these are still alive, then these are probably the best 2 targets you still want to play. But if the Link 5 and Garua, I'm still playing just because they're dark, so they don't conflict with the Dogmatica Punishment. I was playing the other Chimera, the one that can special summon from the graveyard, but again, that's the one I decided to cut and put the second Yami in, because they pretty much do the same thing anyway. So that is it for the extra deck. Now on to the side deck. The side deck can pretty much be whatever the hell you want it to be. It just depends on what you want to be prepared for. What I chose was 3 Lava Golem and 3 Phantasmade. This was more just going second cards, just like to help break a field. Phantasmade against any Link version helps you draw into engine and stuff like that. And then Lava Golem obviously just helps you going second, break a field. So that's really all they're there for. So I decided to prioritize going second, or making sure I can play going second. We're playing 2 Lord of Heavenly Prisons. Again, Tempai is in the format, so you do want to play this card because they are, playing Lightning Storm and Feather Duster. So you do want to be prepared for those cards exactly. So you do want to play this in that as well. But I decided just to play 2 and not play 3 of, just because we have a couple other side deck options. We are only playing 2-dimensional Barrier. Decided not to main deck this. I was super close to main decking this just because a lot of decks now are either synchro summoning or fusion summoning, but I decided just to keep it in the side deck for now, and just the 2 of, because we are playing Trap Trick as well, so that we can get to this pretty easily, and we have the Silver Castle. There's like so many ways we can get to Dimensional Barrier, so you don't necessarily need to play 3 of this card. Decided just to play the 2, and it worked out pretty well as well. We are playing 2 Evenly Matched. Now, this is the one card I think we can probably cut now, because honestly, Evenly Matched doesn't do that much anymore. There's a lot of Omni Negates back in the format now, thanks to the Azamina stuff. So, this doesn't necessarily do anything. I kept it in just in case I versed like rogue matchups, but besides that, it didn't really do anything. So I probably would cut it for the future now. Now for some 1-0s, we are playing 1 skill drain just for any deck that just hard dies to skill drain. We can just beat with big bodies. So this was perfectly fine to keep as the 1-of. 1 DDG just for going first against something like a Snake Eyes matchup was really, really good to keep in. And then we're playing 1 Eradicator Epidemic Virus as well. Probably would increase this to 2 now just because there's a lot of like spell cards. A lot of decks are relying on spell cards now. That Eradicator actually does do a lot now. So that is a consideration that I probably would play 2 of this now. But playing it at 1 of was just perfectly fine because, again, we have plenty of ways to access just a 1 of thanks to Lady of the Silver Castle being able to set this card. So yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.